title, My Husband Divorced Me. By text, I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 20-year-old babe. I've already emptied our joint account. Haha. I calmly replied, good luck. When he realized what I'd done, it was already too late. The calm before the hurricane. They say the first crack in a marriage isn't loud. It's silent, barely noticeable, like a hairline fracture in porcelain, hidden behind years of routine and compromise. At least, that's how it felt with David. We'd been married for 17 years. We weren't perfect, but we had a life. A house with creaky hardwood floors and morning coffee rituals. A dog that barked at squirrels and barked louder at the mailman. Shared bills, shared secrets, shared everything. Or so I thought. I met David when I was 26, fresh off a bad breakup, figuring out who I was. He was confident, charming, and 5 years older, already climbing the corporate ladder. We met at a friend's engagement party and talked the entire night. By year 2, we were married. By year 3, we were homeowners. By year 6, we were paying off that house, while I gave up my job to help David pursue a big business idea. I never saw that choice as a sacrifice. I believed in him. I trusted that someday, when the money rolled in and our lives settled, he'd remember how we started, with me cheering him on while I patched together part-time gigs to make ends meet. He did become successful. Too successful, maybe. Somewhere along the way, David stopped needing me, and I didn't realize it until it was far too late. Looking back, the signs were there. The quiet dinners, the secretive texts, the sudden gym obsession, the unfamiliar cologne. But when you've built nearly 2 decades with someone, denial becomes a second skin. You justify the changes, even when they hurt. It all came crashing down on a Tuesday. I remember because I was at work, covering a shift at the boutique I'd taken a job at just to get out of the house. The sky outside was an overcast gray, the kind that makes everything feel heavy. I was folding sweaters when my phone buzzed. It was from David. Just one message. No warning. No preamble. I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 20-year-old babe. I've already emptied our joint account, haha. Don't bother calling. This is happening. Goodbye. For a moment, I thought it was a joke. A sick one. I stared at the screen, waiting for a follow-up. Just kidding. Or can we talk? But there was nothing. Only silence. My hands went numb. My chest tightened. And then, slowly, I smiled. Not the kind of smile that comes from joy, but the kind born from clarity. A smile that knew something he didn't. Because what David didn't realize was that I'd seen this coming. 3 months earlier, I'd discovered a receipt from a fancy beach resort in his suitcase. It was folded neatly into the lining of a pocket I never touched, except when looking for a charger he'd stolen again. The date didn't match any business trip. The handwriting on the receipt wasn't his. It said, "Can't wait to see you again, baby. You're the best I've ever had. A." I didn't confront him then. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I took a deep breath. And that night, I started planning. I quietly opened a new account in my name only. I rerouted all my boutique paychecks. I took screenshots of every joint transaction. I documented every shady move. And I consulted a divorce attorney, just in case. And then, I waited. So when that text arrived, I was ready. I closed the boutique early that day. My boss, a kind-hearted widow, took one look at my face and simply said, "Go. Whatever it is, go handle it." I nodded and walked out without saying a word. At home, I sat at our kitchen island and reread his message. "I've already emptied our joint account, haha," I calmly replied. "Good luck." He didn't know I'd pulled my half 3 weeks ago. He didn't know I had proof of his affair, bank statements, and even screenshots of flirty messages between him and Alyssa, the barely legal girl he thought he was starting a new life with. He didn't know I'd already filed for divorce. He didn't know that he was about to lose everything. But he would. Very, very soon. The game begins. 3 days. It took 3 days for David to realize that something was off. On Friday afternoon, I got a call, not from David, but from his bank. They were verifying a flagged transaction. Apparently, he tried to wire a significant amount of money to a property agent in Florida, but the funds had bounced. "Mrs. Green," the woman on the phone said politely, "I'm sorry to bother you, but there seems to be an issue with your joint account." "Oh," I said, already sipping coffee with a calm I had practiced for weeks. "That account was closed." There was a pause on her end. "Oh, I see. Thank you for confirming." Click. Not even an hour later, David called. I didn't pick up. Then he texted, "Where the hell is the money?" I stared at the screen, letting the words sit there, vibrating with rage. The same man who ditched me in a text like I was a bad habit was now furious that his big plans were falling apart. And it was only just beginning. 2 months earlier, when I first found the receipt and saw the flirty handwriting, I did what anyone with a broken heart and a still beating brain would do. I didn't confront. I investigated. It wasn't hard to find her. Alyssa. She was everything David used to mock. Influencers, TikTok girls, barely out of college, obsessed with followers and filters. Yet here she was, his babe. She had a public Instagram full of bikinis, yoga poses, and sugar baby memes. Her captions were nauseating. "Manifesting Miami with my man, Gis Agis just a number, Hesjas trophy girlfriend." I didn't judge her. I judged him, a man in his 40s, trying to recapture his youth by tossing away a loyal wife for someone who still used Snapchat as a primary form of communication. And that's when I started documenting everything. Photos, bank records, emails. I hired a discreet PI, one of my boutique customers actually. She gave me everything I needed. The affair had started almost a year ago. Trips, gifts, cash, even fake business expenses. What David didn't realize was that when you play dirty with someone who knows all your hiding places, you're digging your own grave. Back to the present Saturday morning, David showed up at our house. Yes, our house. The one in my name. Years ago, when we refinanced, David had bad credit due to a failed startup. I was the only one who qualified. At the time, it was no big deal. We were a team after all. Now, it was my trump card. He banged on the front door like a man unhinged. I opened it slowly, already recording everything on my phone. His face was red, his eyes wild. He looked nothing like the suave, smug man who once walked out the door with designer luggage and cologne so thick it stained the air. "Where's the money, Claire?" he barked. "What the hell did you do?" I smiled calmly. "Took what was mine. You didn't think I'd just sit and cry, did you?" He laughed bitterly. "You're going to regret this. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take this house. You'll be sorry." "David," I interrupted gently, "this house is in my name. Your mistress? She's posting pictures in your BMW with captions like, 'Sugar Daddy bought me this.' You've left a breadcrumb trail of idiocy." His mouth opened, closed, opened again. I let the silence stretch. "Oh, and by the way," I added, leaning casually against the doorframe, "my lawyer will be in touch Monday. You'll be served for adultery and financial abandonment. You won't just lose me. You'll lose your reputation, your car, your career, and, well, Alyssa might still be around if the money doesn't dry up first. He looked like he'd been slapped. Then, with a sputtered curse, he turned and stormed down the steps. I didn't chase him. I didn't scream. I simply closed the door, turned off the recording, and exhaled. The real payback. By Monday morning, my attorney had filed every paper we'd prepared. Every screenshot, every shady purchase, every hotel bill under fake names. It was all submitted. David's employer, where I'd once attended company parties as the supportive wife, received an anonymous tip, one that just so happened to include pictures of him and Alyssa on what were allegedly client trips. Turns out, the company had a strict code of conduct. He was suspended by Friday. Alyssa? She was livid. I know this because she messaged me. No greeting, no shame. "You jealous old hag. David gave me everything. You don't deserve him." I couldn't help myself. I replied, "I hope you enjoy living in his apartment, when he can afford to rent one." She blocked me after that. The best part? What David didn't realize was that I had been preparing to start over long before he ever left me. While he was busy pretending to be 25 again, I'd been rebuilding my own life. I used some of the money I'd pulled to buy a small online retail business. I took courses. I built my own identity, quietly, steadily, while he self-destructed. And now, I was ready to live. Not for revenge. Not for him. For me. But oh, the revenge. That was just the icing. His perfect life unravels. 3 weeks after David's dramatic exit, and even more dramatic downfall, I got an envelope in the mail. It was from his lawyer. Inside, a pathetic attempt at a counterclaim. He wanted half of everything. The house, my small business, even my retirement savings. I laughed when I read it. Loudly, alone in the kitchen, because David still hadn't figured it out. He didn't understand that the woman he tried to toss aside like expired leftovers had evolved into someone he couldn't control anymore. He thought I was still the same Claire, who once skipped vacations to help him pay off credit cards. The same woman who once cried when he forgot our anniversary. The woman who forgave every lie and let herself believe in the illusion of love. But she was gone. The new me? She documented, she filed, she prepared. I forwarded the letter to my lawyer, who just wrote back, "Let him try." He's standing on a pile of sand with no foundation. Meanwhile, in Miami, I don't have to speculate about how David's new life was going, because social media told me everything. At first, Alyssa was still posting flashy pictures, champagne brunches, beach walks, and David's wallet paying for everything. But it didn't take long for the cracks to show. One post read, "Some people promise the world and can't even afford lunch." Another, "Men who act rich but are broke. Bye." Within a month, her Instagram went private. 2 weeks after that, David's own account vanished completely. I later found out from a mutual friend that he'd been let go permanently from his job after the investigation into expense abuse. His name had become office gossip. His Miami babe story turned into a cautionary tale. He tried freelancing. He tried begging his brother for a loan. He even, this is my favorite part, tried to move back into our guest house. He called me one night at 10:43 p.m. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. "Claire," he said, sounding tired, beaten, I've made mistakes. I see that now." I said nothing. "I'm in a really bad spot. She left. I'm staying with a friend in Tampa. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." Still, I said nothing. "Maybe we could talk. Maybe we could work something out." That's when I smiled. "You mean like a text conversation? Because I seem to remember that's how you ended our marriage." He paused. "Claire, please." I was stupid. "Yes," I said. "You were." Click. I blocked the number. Healing isn't always loud. Revenge doesn't always have to be dramatic. Sometimes the best revenge is thriving while they crumble. I didn't just survive David's betrayal, I turned it into momentum. My boutique business grew rapidly, thanks to a little investment and a lot of hard work. I added a shipping team, started a podcast on rebuilding after betrayal, and even had an article written about me in a local entrepreneur magazine. People stopped seeing me as David Green's wife. They started seeing me as Claire Green, the woman who rebuilt herself from the ashes of a marriage and turned it into something beautiful. I went to therapy. I reconnected with old friends. I stopped second-guessing myself and started laughing again. And the more I healed, the more I realized something powerful. David leaving me wasn't the end of my world. It was the beginning of the best chapter I'd ever write. The final blow. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a certified letter. It was a formal request from David to consider a financial settlement in good faith because, and I quote, "Due to my current circumstances and lack of employment, I respectfully request a reconsideration of asset division." My lawyer laughed so hard he nearly dropped the phone. We sent back 2 sentences. "No, Claire Green wishes you well." And we did include one extra thing for fun. A framed copy of the original text David sent me the day he dumped me. "I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 20-year-old babe. I've already emptied our joint account, haha." Underneath it, we added a sticky note that read, "You emptied the wrong account, David." The life I chose a year had passed since the text that detonated my old life. Spring was blooming again. Same streets, same neighborhood, but everything felt different. Cleaner, lighter. It wasn't just the weather. It was me. My therapist once told me, healing isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about making peace with the version of you who lived through it. That stuck with me. I no longer walked through the world as David's ex-wife. I didn't flinch when people asked, "So, what happened?" I didn't feel ashamed. If anything, I felt proud, because I didn't just survive betrayal. I turned it into fuel. The twist no one expected one. Afternoon, while finalizing orders in the back office of my boutique, I received an email from a woman named Margot Green. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a shared last name, a distant relative. But when I opened it, my stomach turned. "Hello, Claire. My name is Margot. I'm David's mother." I froze. "We've never met, and I apologize for reaching out of the blue. I just wanted to say, thank you. You were the best thing that ever happened to my son, even if he was too blind to see it. I only recently learned the full truth about what happened between you two. David told us nothing. He just stopped visiting. Your name was always off limits. But last week, he broke down. He's depressed, jobless, living off friends. And for once, he admitted everything. That he left you for someone else. That you didn't lash out. You just quietly destroyed him. That you outsmarted him. I suppose I'm writing because I admire you. You didn't just survive. You rose, and I'm sorry he hurt you. I hope you don't mind me saying thank you for loving him when he was still worth loving." I sat with that email for a long time. There was no bitterness in Margot's words, no defense, just recognition and closure. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Instead, I sat back, staring at the string lights I'd hung from the ceiling, breathing in the soft scent of sandalwood, and smiled. Full circle. In late summer, I hosted a small women's event at my shop. The theme: new chapters. We had wine, music, a panel of local businesswomen, and lots of laughter. At the end of the evening, one woman approached me with tears in her eyes. "I followed your story," she said. "You helped me leave someone who treated me like I was invisible. You reminded me that we're allowed to choose ourselves." I hugged her tightly, because I knew what it meant to feel small, forgotten, discarded, and now I knew what it meant to rise. Epilogue: good luck. Sometimes I still see David's number pop up on my call logs, never from the same place, never with a voicemail. Sometimes he sends emails. "Just checking in. Hope you're well. Can we talk?" I never reply. He made his choice. I made mine. He traded loyalty and legacy for lust and lies, and I gave him exactly what he wanted: freedom. But here's the thing about freedom. If you don't know what to do with it, it becomes a prison. He thought he broke me when he texted me, "I'm leaving you for my 20-year-old babe." He thought he won when he laughed about draining the account, but he didn't know that, while he was busy playing games, I was quietly rewriting the rules. And by the time he realized what I'd done, it was already too late. If this story struck a chord in your heart, if you've ever been hurt, betrayed, or underestimated, know this: you are not alone, and you are so much stronger than you think. Tap that subscribe button to join Veiled Revenge, where we share tales that heal, inspire, and remind you that even the deepest heartbreak can lead to the most beautiful new beginning. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that revenge isn't always about getting even. Sometimes it's just about getting better.